What's up, everybody? I'm back. This Life Ain't For Everybody podcast. Jack Daniels, Tennessee Sour Mash Whiskey, bringing you another episode. Enjoy it responsibly. Never allow underage drinking. Jack Daniels. I was talking to my buddy Tommy that works for Jack Daniels today about some upcoming events. I'm excited as heck with what Jack Daniels has got going on. I can't explain to you how excited I am for events. We're talking about some concerts. We're talking about Sturgis Bike Rally. I got invited back for the second year for in 2022. We got barbecue again in 2022. Every single bit of the Jack Daniels culture is dead on. I love it. I appreciate it. And remember, Jack Daniels strives to support conservation. Conservation doesn't just mean that they support a little bit of it, like hunting or fishing. They support everything from habitat to the mountains, to the waters, to the woods. Every single bit of it, Jack Daniels is involved on a daily basis to make sure that America stays straight, America stays strong, and that nothing goes away with it. And that's what I love about the brand Jack Daniels. Thank you, everybody in Lynchburg, Tennessee. Jack Daniels, you are the bomb. I appreciate the support, everything you do for all of our brands here at This Life Ain't For Everybody and beyond. Tonight's episode of This Life Ain't For Everybody is also brought to you by the one and only Lear Toppers. We depend on Lear. They protect our gear all over the country as we drive America's back roads, the highways, the byways. Every single place that we go, we can be rest assured that our truck is going to be secure and safe all the way from the driving to the stopping at the hotels. Everything is locked, protected. Our dogs, our guns, our valuables. Lear is there for us. And not to mention aesthetically, they look unbelievable. The options that you can get, like the Lear locker, the lights, the air conditioning, the heating, the carpet, the windows, every single thing that they offer, you can design your own. No matter what kind of truck you buy, look to Lear to put your topper on there. Design it, go to your local dealer, figure out exactly what you want, what configurations you want, and Lear can build it. Thank you, Lear, for doing what you do for our brands. We truly are honored to be part of the Lear family. And we're back with part 2 of Justin Smiley and Tate Fogleman, professional athletes making their living, their revenue in sports. Justin's a football player in the NFL, retired now. Tate's just starting his NASCAR career in the NASCAR Truck Series. In part 1, we talked about a lot of the younger days, the history of what it took to get to where they're at now. And we left off talking about Justin's football career as he's playing for Alabama and what was going on during his tenure there. And I wanted to get to the draft day we talked about how he was projected to go in the first round, but he slipped to the second round, but still made a heck of a career in San Francisco. And Bill Walsh called him and asked him if he was interested in being a San Francisco 49er. And that's kind of where we were at as far as what it takes to get there is one thing. But Justin, correct me if I'm wrong. Staying there is a completely different thing, right?
Yeah, that is that's kind of the running joke in the NFL is getting to the NFL is easy. Staying there is the hard part. And everybody makes the joke that the NFL stands for not for long. You know, the average career is just shy of 4 years. And you know, it's one of these deals where, you know, you get there and you work hard, you work your whole life to obtain that goal, but the money to be made is in the free agent contract. That's not off the rip, man. You got to prove yourself. You have to become a starter, become a the way that I look at it is that you have 2 guards per team, and you have 32 teams. You have 64 guards in the NFL. You have to be one of the best 64 players in the world at your position to really make a good living. And and then you have individual goals like Pro Bowl, All-Pro, and these kinds of things, which, you hope to obtain.
And when you're there in San Francisco and you're starting off your career, do you have the confidence, like when you get out there, you come from the University of Alabama, you're talking about one of the top collegiate programs in the country, more so. I mean, you were winning games and we talked about why people didn't know about it, but Alabama's a powerhouse. Obviously they've won 6 national titles in the last decade, I think, or something. But
7. That's right.
7 in the decade. Okay, so
I mean, yeah, who's counting?
do you go into the NFL having confidence that you belong there?
Well, yeah, that's a great question, man. You know, look, you can have all of the athleticism in the world, and that was kind of my game. You know, at the time, the Denver Broncos, they were a West Coast offense, which Bill Walsh kind of brought it about. They relied on smaller, faster offensive linemen. They did things differently. There was only a few teams, Denver Broncos, the 49ers, that ran that kind of deal, the Colts. So I only fit a few offensive schemes. But, I was super athletic. But you can be as athletic as anybody in the world. But and this is profound, this is crazy here, is that, at Alabama, you may play Tennessee one week, and then you may play Sisters of the Poor the next, or Mercer. There's a drop-off. In the NFL, you're playing BAs every day.
Yeah.
Every game, there's no drop-off in talent. You're playing unbelievable people. And that was the thing that I had to get my mind, I had to wrap my mind around, was that, look here, you better bring it every game. And look, it wasn't like I just hopped in there, man, and I was doing my thing, I mean, there was growing pains. I was a senior in college. I was a junior, I came out as a junior. I mean, I was still a college kid, and I just jumped in there, and there was a learning curve.
Tate, how long did it take you where you gained that confidence, where you knew you belonged in the NASCAR Truck Series?
Yeah, I mean, definitely growing up, I knew I'd been around it so long. I felt like that kind of gave me an advantage of other people. I mean, I got into the sport when I was 5 or 6, and then just being around a family that was involved, I knew how to work on the cars, how to give good feedback to the crew chief, how to do that. And I felt like I was kind of ahead of people, but I just had experience on short tracks. I wasn't experienced with 1.5-mile tracks, big super speedways like the NASCAR circuit raced on. So until I got those first few starts in 2018, and then it took basically to the end of my first full-time season, and I was kind of becoming confident in myself and really figuring things out.
Talking about what Justin was just alluding to, you're going against the top racers there are. You don't get to go and take it easy. Like, hey, this week in Charleston, I'm only going against one guy that's got some prowess and some experience in this. You're going against every week. You're going against the best of the best.
Yeah, and it's not just one person. I'm facing off against 39 other drivers every weekend. I gotta bring it every weekend. I also am having to balance school too, and balance a whole lot of stuff in my life right now. I'm 21 years old, so there's a lot going on right now. But when I get to the racetrack, I got to be all in. I got to prepare as much as I can throughout the week, and I got to be mentally in the game too.
And how much, in my sport of choice was baseball, and it's 80% mental.
Yeah.
How much racing is mental?
I mean, I'd say the same thing, like 80%. I mean, you got to be physically in shape. There's some tracks that are more demanding than others, but it's just mentally. You got to prepare yourself. I mean, like Talladega, that's probably one of the most mentally draining tracks. Like, you're just focusing on maintaining that gap between the truck in front of you, trying to focus on that while you're listening to feedback from your spotter, like runs coming from behind you. Like, you got to have eyes in the back of your head. There's just so much going on. It just drains you mentally. So, I mean, and you got to be all in when it comes to racing. I mean, there's other distractions in life. There's things that I like to do, but when it comes down to it, racing, that's all I care about, and you gotta be all in to be able to be successful.
One of the things that he told me the other day that blew my mind, that I could not handle, besides going 195 miles an hour in a truck that does not seem that safe to me when I watch them. They truly don't. But in the cockpit, in the suit they're wearing, it's fire retardant suit.
Yeah.
It gets up to 140, 145 degrees in that cockpit. Could you imagine how long's the race last? You're going 95 laps.
Yeah,
94 laps. What is it? 2-hour race?
Yeah, 2.5 hours.
Just be in a sauna for I don't know how
essentially
my hot tub's 104.
Yeah.
Like, and I can barely stay on that for 15 minutes.
And he's wearing a fire hose. You know, I mean, we know how that feels. I mean, it's not moisture wicking.
No.
You know, I mean, dude, I mean, that's an element that people don't see and they just don't understand. There's a lot that goes into it, but that's why you're a pro, man. You know what I'm saying? That's why you're the best at what you do. And you're right. You're racing against the best every day. I mean, you got to bring your A game.
Yeah. But the mental part of that is when I start to get hot and claustrophobic starts to set in. That's a hard thing to overcome, in my opinion. Of, man, I got to stay fast.
Yeah.
I got to stay safe. I got to know what's going on in front of me, behind me, to the sides of me. And at the same time, your body is just like the heat is taking over. And I'm telling you, like, it sounds easy to do, but when I start to get that hot, and the vice versa, when you start to get that cold, you start to lose control.
Yeah.
And it's a big part of it. Like I've had several, X Games athletes on the podcast. And one of them, who is a stud, he did the Red Bull Rampage and he's just a stud mountain biker, told me that the number one athletes in extreme sports are motocross guys. Mm-hmm. And I said, why? I go, what about snowboarders? They're flipping, and Shaun White's doing this, and David Wise is doing this. But Cam Zink, the guy that I'm referring to, the guy that's won the Red Bull Rampage. I don't know if you've ever watched the Red Bull Rampage, but that shit is crazy on mountain bikes. I'm talking crazy, to where they'll go to a certain spot, and it's usually a western state, mountainous, rocky terrain, Utah, Nevada, Idaho, and they build their own track. They build their own course. They design it. They put the jumps in, and then it's all judged on difficulty and trick and everything that they do. Well, he told me, I said, why do you say motocross? And he says, because they're going this fast for this long and their heart rate's at 180 the entire race. 180. Your resting heart, my resting heart rate is 59 to 64. When I'm in the fat burning zone, it's like 130 to 135, somewhere in there. When I get up to 170, I'm like, oh, holy shit, I got to bend over and get a breath. That's right. 180 for that many laps, and your forearms are tense, your core's working, your balance. And that's the same as like when you're in the truck and you're at 145 degrees and your freaking arms are shaking and your forearms and all of that stuff starts to come to effect. When you watch a race on TV, you don't take any of that into account. You don't even think about that shit. No. You're just like, wow, they're going fast. And like what Eli alluded to a couple minutes ago, he's like, just turn left. Yeah. Dude, there is so much that goes into this. When you watch those motocross guys, you're like, well, that looks fun. Dude, they're going through hell, man. They got to be in unbelievable shape to perform that way.
You're right. I mean, it's hard to really fathom, but I mean, I talked about it earlier. I really think that obviously that's what makes you a pro, man. I mean, it's all those things. I mean, people take for granted that they don't understand what goes into it. We talk about you, Tate, and all the things that you do. Man, I have such a respect for it because it didn't fall in your lap, you know what I'm saying? There's a process, and you're a pro at it.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, man.
Do you think that being in that truck and being on that track is where you want to be? Is that a lot of people that make their passion or their hobby their livelihood. A lot of people told me, you're never going to duck hunt again if you make it your livelihood. Well, I love it more now than I ever have. Yeah. But do you love it as much as you did when you were 6 years old climbing into that go-kart?
Yeah, so when I first started when I was 5 or 6, I raced like the first year. And then my dad couldn't come to the track, so it was me and my mom. And we were getting ready to go to the race, and I was like, I'm not getting in. Like, I don't want to race anymore. So I actually quit for a year. Like, I didn't like it. I know my dad, he was big on wanting me to race to begin with, and then I came to a point where I didn't want to do it. And then we went a year or so, and I was probably 7 years old. Came back to my dad. I was like, I think I want to get back into it again, start racing. And, of course, he was all in, my grandpa too, because my grandpa lives like 2 minutes from me. The race shop we always went to when I was younger, me and my dad worked at, was behind my grandpa's house. So I've been around it with him, the whole family basically. So they were all in, and then ever since then, I mean, I've just gotten more and more passionate about it every year. I mean, I'm probably the most passionate about it and care about it the most right now than I ever have.
Along the same lines, Justin, Smiley, talk to me a little bit about, does the fear or the threat of injury, the brain injuries, the concussions, the things that go wrong in the game of football. Here, I'm just going to be straight up honest with you.
Yeah.
I freaking hate football. I watched the hits and the freaking injuries. Just the other night in the Georgia-Alabama national championship game, I saw some hits to where I'm like, that is not supposed to happen to a human body.
It was hard for me to watch too, man.
I don't like that shit.
I cringed. Listen, the farther that I get away from my career, the more that I dislike it as well. You're not the only one. Obviously our body wasn't designed for that. I liken it to the gladiator sports, man. You know what I'm saying? Like the people in the Colosseum, Roman times, and they release the lion in there, and it's the fight. I mean, people have been doing this forever, and they love to watch this kind of stuff. And, I love the sport, as a young kid, and it was something that I just absolutely just obviously adored. But now, like you said, I watch it on TV, and it pains me. It's tough to watch, but
let's talk about some specifics real quick. Junior Seau. When I see footage of him playing, he looked like the most happy-go-lucky man in the world, smiling, loving it. Now I know that everybody's got demons and darkness, but relate that to this new cat that just took off his pads and his jersey and threw it and then did everything he did in front of the crowd and then ran off the field. I think he's playing for Tampa Bay.
Antonio Brown.
Yeah, Antonio Brown. Yeah. Is this normal? Is this because their brains are not working because of the hits they've taken? Is it proven yet?
Hey, it is. I mean, the science is there now. It's post-mortem, somebody has to die, and like you said, they have to dissect and look at it under a microscope. But you can look at somebody's behavior and know that that's not normal. The rash decision making. It came out yesterday. He has regret now that he did that, but he has no control over impulse. And these are the signs of those things. And like Junior Seau and Dave Durson and Mike Webster and all these guys, like I said, football has not been around for really that long. And now we're getting to the age where we finally see the lasting effects of those hits.
How do you deal with the pain? Because I can't imagine the Sunday after a game like that your body's not in pure pain for at least 48 hours. Do you have to be on Advil every day? Do you have to be icing every day? Are you taking supplements that are? Do you have to go get shots and injections all the time?
Let's be real. I'll be candid.
Yeah. Because
I love you. I'll tell you straight up. Look, Advil doesn't cut it. And I know, Toradol is a magical drug, and it's a very, very potent anti-inflammatory. And, I remember everywhere that I played before a game, the line to get into the doctor's room in the locker room would be 53 guys long, and we only have 53 guys on the roster. Everybody's getting a Toradol shot. And the way that worked was that you go in and you get your shot, and you don't feel anything until Wednesday, and you felt like a bus hit you on Wednesday. And I got so beat up. I mean, I had 17 surgeries, and I was taking 2 Toradol shots a week. They don't suggest that you take 1 Toradol shot every 4 months, and I'm taking 2 a week. And I had no idea that it causes kidney failure and all these kinds of things.
The team doesn't care either. They're just like, get him out there. Get him out there.
Hey, man, that's the name of the game. You're no good. I remember Bill Parcells. I mean, this is pretty cool. I'm going to say it on your podcast. Bill Parcells, tell the Judy story. Ryan loves this, by the way. I'm not going to tell the Judy story. That's a different story. You had treatment. If you were an injured player, you had treatment every day at 5:30 in the morning. You do your treatment and you do all your stuff. And like you said, ice and stem and all that good stuff, to me, was a bunch of bullshit. Right. You know what I'm saying? I mean, come on. That does nothing.
Right.
Give me a couple of Vicodin, go out there. And, I mean, how do you play football? I mean, most people know if you take a narcotic pain pill, how loopy you feel. Man, I'd take 2. They'd give me 2. I'd go out there and play like a damn baller. Most people can't even walk to the damn bathroom and piss in the toilet straight without getting it all over the toilet seat. But that's just the way you operate, man, because you had to. You were no good. And Bill Parcells asked me, he said, Justin, you have a pool guy. You love your pool guy. You bullshit with him around the pool and you hang out. But you go to swim in your pool and you got leaves in your pool every time you go to swim. He's no good to you. He said, the best ability is availability. Right? Yeah. That's some serious stuff, man. Think about it. Oh, yeah. You're not available, you're no good to us.
Yep.
Right? So you do what you got to do, man. Because I looked at it this way right here. My shelf life was just so long, and I had to ride it till the wheels fall off.
Do you ever worry, before I get back to Tate, I want to talk to Tate about the dangers of NASCAR. And, I mean, there's got to be dangers, right? 195 miles an hour in that little truck.
To me, that's a different ballgame, man. Yeah.
But do you ever worry that you're going to wake up and your brain's going to be a little bit off and you might suffer, or would you know by now?
Look, man, how could I not? Ryan's telling me the other day I'm an angry man.
Angry?
Hey, yeah. I mean, hey, look, I get angry about some things that I probably shouldn't. Look, did you ever feel unsafe hunting with me today?
With you?
No.
No.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's certain things that I'm very cautious about. Exactly. All right, that's a different podcast. I'm cognizant. I'm always aware of these things. But, dude, I do find myself getting pissed off about very small things that are very minor and subtle. And to me, that's a trigger. I mean, like, I know, but I'm aware, I don't know what tomorrow holds.
That's scary to me. That whole brain deal, man, it's like you cannot not get injured in that game, in my opinion. It's
a car wreck every play.
And here's the deal, and we talked about this last podcast. You're getting clawed in the helmet in every play as a lineman. And I understand that the linebackers will hit hard, and the defensive end is going to come up, and the receiver is going to get laid out once in a while, and the running back's going to come through the 2-hole and get smacked by the inside linebacker. But linemen are going through it all the time. I just think that I don't know, and I heard this, and I'd have to do some more research on this. But there was a time in the league, if I remember the story right, and I hope somebody fact checks me on this, but we alluded to this last time.
I might be able to get you.
They had 5 neurosurgeons on the board, on this round table discussion board. It was one of those question and answer deals. It's during the alumni deal and the player meetings and stuff. And the question was posed, would you let your kids play football? To these neurosurgeons. These are guys that deal with the brain. And they said 4 out of the 5 of these neurosurgeons said never, not one down. The 5th one said not a day before he or she turned 17. And I put she in there because I guess in today's age, you say that. And girls can play football. I don't want to leave them out.
Yeah.
I would never let my daughter play football against boys. Ever in my life would I.
I mean, it's just,
No.
who are
happening.
you kidding?
Not happening. But the 5th one said not a day before he or she turned 17. That tells me right now that you go and watch these kids tackle, and you watch their form, and you watch them put their head down and headbutt somebody else. None of it is doing them any good.
Well, Chad, you remember when we were kids? It wasn't, hey, you had a concussion or you were concussed. You got your bell rung.
Yeah, you got your bell rung.
Oh, and I'm seeing stars. You know how many times I saw stars?
Me too.
And I walked by the huddle, and and by the time the next play, I had regained.
It just can't. I'm not saying that baseball doesn't have injuries, because there's probably more injuries in baseball.
There's
little
baseball
ones.
players that have had
And
CTE.
There are, but there's a lot more risk in football of CTE.
I agree.
In my opinion. So I guess it is. I guess it's more of, you got to pick and choose your battles. I know football's never going to go away. I know that there's that mentality of Friday Night Lights, and that it makes sense. All I'm saying is that I don't want people out there to think that you have to play football to be tough. I regret playing football because I broke my wrist, I tore my shoulder, I broke my tailbone, almost broke my collarbone. I sucked at football. I was, when you don't do, if you're scared of something, you don't do it because you're going to get hurt. That was me, because I was even scared back then playing high school football. Like, what am I doing out here? And
Which makes you more susceptible.
More
right?
susceptible. And I look back on it, the only reason I played is to be somebody, to wear that jersey on Fridays in the locker, in the hallways.
I hate that, and I hate that anybody ever feels that, feels that pressure.
You shouldn't you shouldn't have to feel that pressure.
You
I want to tell people, don't do it. Don't feel that.
Well, we talked about, I think we should touch on it for a minute. We talked about these guys who play football, and you see people, the suicide rates, and people that are depressed, and CT and all this stuff, and I just tell them, like, man, find something that you truly love. For me, it's waterfowl hunting and the camaraderie. It's as close as you get to the locker room, man.
Yeah.
Like the time we had in the pit today.
That was awesome.
The camaraderie and that kind of stuff. You can't. I mean, there's nothing like it. It's almost like the football locker room.
There's nothing, and it's therapy. It's therapy. We're going to end the podcast because we could go on and on, but I want to talk to Tate a little bit about your outlook on safety, your future of being a 21-year-old kid. Is there fear when you're in the truck? I know that you've done it for a long time, but there's big wrecks in NASCAR. Are there a lot of injuries, Tate, or is it so safe now since Earnhardt? I know that the walls are different. I know that the protection's different. The padding's different. Everything's been, obviously you have to be safe because your truck can catch on fire. You can roll over. Your cage is, indestructible almost. Are you scared when you get in that truck at all? Is there a fear? Or would you be crazy to not have a little bit of fear when you climb inside that cage?
Yeah, at Talladega, Daytona, there's always going to be a big wreck. It's always in the back of your head, but, you're a race car driver. You can't be scared to do what you do. So, just like you were saying, since Earnhardt, the head, neck restraints in the cockpit, the fire suits, fire retardant gloves, shoes. Some people wear, head socks under their helmets, the headrest, the containment, around your head and the seat. Just the changes they made, on the chassis, the roll cage, the safer barrier walls you mentioned. There's just so much that's gone on now that's it's honestly kind of hard to get hurt. There's wrecks that people might break a bone. There one last year before, a guy broke his back. But it's going to take a really bad wreck for, I think, anybody to get close to dying, because just the advancements they've made in technology and everything, and inside the cockpit, and advancements on the track with the walls and everything, I think it's been a big improvement, and something I don't go in any race scared, but there's always, you're going to be involved in a wreck at some point. So that's just what you always think about.
You've been involved in some.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, any race car driver out there has always been involved in some sort of wreck.
I think it's admirable, but I think it's nuts. When I saw how fast you really don't get the gist of NASCAR unless you're there. You can watch it as much as you want till you're blue in the face on TV, and it's just like, oh yeah, when you're there, like when I'm at Indy and I hear those engines and I see how fast they are, I'm like, never in my life would I get in that car.
Yeah, I know. Like
Never.
everybody that goes there, like I'll go back and watch a race on TV, and I'm like, it looks like we're going so slow. And then like once you go there and like are right up by the fence and to see it in person, it's totally different. I know people watch it on TV, they say like they like it and like watching the races, but those people that actually go and watch a race for the first time, I feel like they're hooked once they can actually go and see it firsthand.
I can't wait to get back.
Yeah.
Look for Tate 2022 NASCAR Truck Series. You're going to see some recognizable names, brands on the side of his truck, both sides and the hood.
Oh yeah,
we got some stuff going on. I can't wait to watch him race. Tell us when you kick off. February?
Yep, February 18th. Daytona is the first one.
Daytona.
That's big time, man.
I like Daytona. I like Florida.
Yeah, football, Super Bowl's at the end of the season. Super Bowl for us, that's how we kick off our season.
Yeah.
Biggest one of the year.
I love it, man. We're going to be pulling for you, bro.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
We might even be there.
Yeah.
Hey,
that'd be even better.
Yeah. Justin, we're going to have more of these talks with you two because I'm very interested in all of this. I like the idea that we can openly discuss things that you guys have both been a part of and have experience in history with, because there's a lot of questions to be raised. Like I often ask myself, my nephew, I watch him in his sports. Would I be pissed off at my brother if he let him play football? How, you mentioned you can only hold them back for so long. You got to let them be kids. You got to let them be athletes. But I don't know if I'd let them. I don't know. I don't freaking know. It scares me. But look, you had a hell of a career. I hope what, our friend Rhino said, that you're an angry man, isn't true. I don't think you're angry. I wouldn't want you to be angry at me.
The only time I've seen him angry was at darts the other night.
Yeah.
He got pissed. He got his ass whipped.
Hey, I have my moments, man.
Justin Smiley, he will be back. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you all for listening. Thank you to Jack Daniels. Thank you to Lear Toppers. Let me just be straight up and transparent with everybody. We're working as hard as we can. We're on the road and we are trying to bring as much content as possible. We're doing these podcasts. I understand 100% wholeheartedly these conversations can go on, but you got to figure out a way to stop them and get some kind of rest, because we can't afford to let our bodies wear down. We still have a month and a half of the season left. We're grinding hard. Hopefully y'all are enjoying the content. Brand new episodes of the Foul Life TV happening right now. This is This Life Ain't For Everybody podcast. Please check out our sister podcast, the Foul Life podcast, and Where the Payment Ends. Support the partners and sponsors that support ours, our lifestyle, our culture. Everybody is working hard out here. Let's all come together. Let's drop the inner fighting in everything that we do. We got a big year coming up, 2022. Tate Fogleman, NASCAR Truck Series, Justin Smiley. You're going to see him on upcoming episodes of The Foul Life, hear him on more of our podcasts. Hell, I might even approach him about hosting his own podcast under the This Life Ain't For Everybody umbrella. He would be good at it. I just don't know. His sidekick is this guy, Larry Fryman, and Larry does not talk that much, but you'll hear Larry on an upcoming episode of the Foul Life podcast. We're having fun. We're bringing it to you. Hopefully y'all enjoyed that. Tom, Eli, hit that button. This song is called What You Gonna Do When the Money's All Gone. It was written by Leith Lofton and Drake White. This is the version sung by my main man, Leith Lofton, a.k.a. Hoss. Thank y'all so much.
I'd rather be poor living off in a hole, rich as hell without a soul. Life on earth won't last too long. What you gonna do when the money's all gone? Tell me now.